I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jarrett Bass with Mark McCain, and you're listening to Everyday Athlete, a podcast devoted to bringing you the amazing stories behind the lives of day-to-day CrossFit athletes like yourself. And today we have the prestigious Melissa Doss.
Prestigious.
I learned that
She
one
wasn't
today.
ready for that.
I learned that today. I picked that up. It's
Oh, yeah.
the word of the day.
You've been practicing your words again, Jarrett?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Hooked on phonics. Helps
Oh my
everybody.
God, I
Is
remember
that why you
that.
clap it
Yeah.
up?
Very phonetic. So, Melissa, welcome.
Thank you.
How are
Thank you
you?
for having me.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
doing it.
I'm good. I'm good now.
Yeah?
It's been a stressful morning, but
Yeah.
I'm good. Mm-hmm.
Relax a little bit. Okay.
This is a safe place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell all your secret.
So usually, again, this is for those of you guys just kind of tuning in for the first time, really just trying to get a little bit deeper into what makes you tick. Obviously, you're, like Mark said, probably you're definitely the most advanced CrossFit athlete we've ever had here. But on the same token, you are a real person with a real life, with a real job. And obviously, it's not just all about CrossFit. So that's like kind of what we want to do is figure out what makes you tick a little bit.
Okay.
So, are you from Kentucky originally?
I'm originally from Lexington. I was born and raised there. Went to University of Kentucky for undergrad. And then I moved with my husband to Dayton, Ohio for law school. And about 6 years ago, we moved to Northern Kentucky.
Are you a flyer? Are you Dayton Flyer?
I mean, when I was there, I liked them, but I wouldn't go to Dayton to watch a game.
I wouldn't go to Dayton for anything.
Hey, Dayton is nice. I lived in Kettering, and it had a really cool park system, and they had all kinds of outdoor stuff. So
I do the strength training for Alter's hockey team, so that's out in Kettering.
okay,
So
you go
yeah,
every now and then.
I do go there. It's
Yeah.
like once a week right now,
Yeah.
but because it's a 90-minute drive, so
It's fair. I made that drive for a whole semester.
it's a little from.
Dayton.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
It was a lot.
That is rough. No, thank you. No, thank you. I do it once a week, and that's enough for me. Well, it's cool. So you are a lawyer, right? So you now have your own law firm.
I do. It's 2 years, October 1st.
So-
Is that today? Tomorrow?
No, it's Sunday.
Sunday.
Gosh.
So we're close.
Close.
2 years Sunday.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
That-
a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
That is that's mine and yours anniversary
Is it?
for this place, right?
How about it? We
Anniversary
should all
buddies.
go grab a drink
Yeah.
Right now.
right now. Stop.
That's our anniversary. Well, it's very cool because that brings, a whole new element because obviously, we have a lot of people here who are their own professionals, right? They either have their own business or the family's kids and job. What is your kind of, I don't know, your mission, your motivation for the CrossFit style of things, right? Because obviously you have a mantra for your professional side of things, but the fitness side of things, where does that play in your life?
When I first started CrossFit, I was actually studying for the bar, and I started with a Groupon. It was like a three-month Groupon for whatever dollars, and I was like, this would be a really great stress reliever. I was running around the block and just kind of tired of it. So I started CrossFit, and I'm like, after these 3 months, I'm going to quit. I just never had any expectations for it, and I honestly immediately loved it. It's a really great stress reliever, and luckily I've been able to pick up things a little bit easier than other people, and it's just been, I definitely work hard, but it comes a little bit more natural to me. So I never got into CrossFit to compete. I just got in it to stay healthy and do something different. So like everybody, your first couple years of CrossFit or first few years, you're a little bit obsessed, I would say,
Oh yeah.
to put it mildly.
You get
Yeah.
around this when people guess what you're talking about.
Yeah, to put it mildly.
CrossFit.
Yeah.
So I was all in those first few years. And if you asked me back then, and I was working at a law firm, so my schedule was I was stupid. I was coaching at 5:30 and sometimes 6:30 in the morning, going to work at the firm from 8 to 5:30 at night and trying to train competitively after. And I did that for a couple years, and it pretty easily ran me into the
Yeah,
ground.
wear you
The
out.
old adage of burning the candle at both ends.
I have done that. I
Yes.
have done it many times. I forget what I was talking about.
Just kind of getting started. Yeah, no, you're good.
Well,
My brain.
I mean, this is probably like the third time Alex Scott has come up in the podcast. You actually, that's the first time I ever met you. Alex brought you to Covington and with Annie Weary, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
way back when. That was the first time I ever met both you guys. And I think, again, that primordial ooze of CrossFit started in Northern Kentucky.
It did.
For a lot of places. Again, it was just a little bit less expensive than other places. And, you know,
Absolutely.
you saw a lot of people who have now branched off either on their own, if so facto, Mark and I, and then, you know, or just either gone well and above where they probably expected to go as far as skill level.
I agree.
Yeah.
I remember what I was talking about. Okay. So I was like all in for the first years of CrossFit. I loved it. If you asked me what I wanted to do, you know, my husband would kill me, but I would probably say like I wanted to quit my job as an attorney and like train full time for CrossFit and like go to the CrossFit games and woohoo, all these things. So as like my career has progressed and as I've grown up a little bit, now CrossFit for me is like a really great stress reliever still. I kind of put it on the back burner the last couple years and have focused more on my work. Obviously, you know, when you own your own business,
Yes.
it's not even that you don't have a lot of time to commit to CrossFit, because I could probably make more time and train 3 hours every day if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I honestly don't have time because it takes a lot, you know, like I have to do everything from marketing and getting clients and going to court, and I still have a family and I hang out with friends, and I try to do it all. And for me, you know, CrossFit is like taking a little bit of a back burner. So I would say right now, what CrossFit is for me, it's like a stress reliever. It's a chance to hang out with my friends and work out, and I definitely want to still compete, but I'm kind of backing off a little bit personally from like the games being my goal.
Yeah.
I think now, I mean, ask me again in a couple years maybe, but for now,
Right.
So CrossFit's like,
Well, it
roller
has.
coaster.
We always say to all of our people, because, you know, we have to show empathy for people to come through our door. I don't personally have kids. Mark doesn't have kids, but, you know, we're both getting to that point in our life where, you know, things are just getting busier and busier and busier. And we always say real life happens, you know, and you have a finite amount of energy during the day. And if you can set that goal of I'm going to be gearing up for the Open or for regionals. I'm going to gear up for that. Something else has to suffer. And it's usually going to be friends or family, you know, that social aspect. Not that that's everything, but it has to be some part of your life. And at a certain point, you have to ask yourself, is that where I'm going to go every time?
Right.
I think they just interviewed, was it Dan Bailey? You know, and they asked him, you know, like, do you want to go to the games? He's like, I don't want to anymore.
Yeah.
He's like the
Yeah.
the amount of time and energy it takes to even get to what was the announcer that said, you know, people
Even
don't
to regionals.
people don't understand
Yeah.
how good you have to be just to suck at this.
You do.
Right.
You do.
It's unreal. So for those of you, for everybody who doesn't maybe doesn't know your story in CrossFit, how you've been to the games, how many times?
So I started in 2013. Somehow I made it to regionals. I started 2012, April of 2012. So I came in when they were doing that burpee workout, the 7 minutes of burpees.
Oh, and you stuck with it. So
Well, I was
Yes,
like, I don't
yeah.
even know what a freaking burpee is, but it looks fun. So I started then, and I made it to regionals as an individual 2013. 2014, I went team, and we made it to the games and got second, which was
second
really,
place at
it
the
was a
CrossFit
really fun-
Games. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Pretty unreal.
It was fun. And honestly, like my team had the utmost confidence, but I was just on the team to have fun and make it to the games. And, you know, I loved all the people on it.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
all in.
It's a good group.
Yeah. 2015, I was an individual. 2016, what year are we in? 2016, I was an individual too.
Yeah.
And then 2017, I was team. We made it to the games, and I watched the games.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Unfortunately, you had a little injury and yeah.
Sidelined you.
To say the
Yeah,
least.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
What-
trying to put it lightly, but yeah, it's obviously a tragedy, and you're training and you fell and got hurt a little bit, but you're back with both feet on the ground now and
I
making the
am.
comeback.
I am.
Where do you think that mentally put you? Because I think, would you, because we talked a little bit when we asked you to come over, it's really tough to mentally try and take a step back, especially at the level you're at. Where do you think that you would have been, maybe that not happened, or do you think that was a good thing? I think maybe in the long run, I think we talked a little bit, I think eventually this is going to be a good thing.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah. Right now, maybe a little bit tough.
So like we were talking about, like things suffer when you put other things before. So my plan this year, honestly, was for it to be like my last year trying to make it to regionals and make it to the games. And then my husband and I were going to try to start a family. Daniel, we've been married for like 8 years. And so that was our plan. And so for me, the worst part about my injury was like the timing. And I know that your plans fail all the time, but I'm like a really big planner, if you haven't realized. I'm a type A. So I like to plan things out, and I know that life doesn't work like that. So when you have a plan and it falls through, it was really hard. For me, like, I still wanted to go to the games and support my team, but sitting on the sideline, like, frankly sucked. And I've had a pretty good attitude the entire time, which helps. And my teammates have been, like, super supportive, but I'm not gonna lie, it was really hard. So
it sucks sitting on the side. It doesn't matter what the sport is.
It sucks.
I even as something as simple as anytime I watch an intramural soccer game, it's something that I physically can't play anymore. I agree. You want to be out there and you kind of yearn for it.
Even like when it's people that you've been training with all year. So if I was an individual and I broke my ankle, I would be upset, obviously, and it hurt. But I wouldn't nearly be as upset as it was for like my team. I kind of felt like I was hurting them as much as I was hurt because, we've meshed well. So immediately after it happened, I was like, okay, so I'm going to get back. I'm going to try to go like one more year because, you have that like initial, I don't know, just kind of like, I'm not going to give up.
Yeah, that resolve.
Yeah.
And put some tussin on it, rub some dirt on it, it'll be fine.
Well, hey, if the doctor said I'm gonna put your ankle back right and you can't hurt it worse, I would have probably tried. But as time has gone on, it's been almost 4 months, and like as the time has gone on, like I'm really enjoying other things of life, like in life, and I've been like really busy with work and with like outside things, and I'm starting to really enjoy it. So I'm not sure what I even want to do in the future, like going forward. So I think kind of like it was God's way of being like, hey, Melissa, there's more to life than CrossFit, and there's more to life than your plan, because your plan is never the plan that I have. And so like kind of taking a step back and keeping things in perspective and maybe realizing that there's something else I'm meant to do.
Sure, absolutely.
That's huge.
Yeah, and two things. Number one, it just goes to show your character that, you were being hurt. You feel as if it hurt other people more than you, and I guarantee you they would probably feel the same way, and that's what makes a team, right? When you are all meshed and you understand each other to the point where like I'm letting you guys down, I feel so bad, and they would say the same thing, like no, you're not. And if someone else get hurt, they would say the same exact thing,
right?
And two, just to your own resolve, I mean, I think when there's a will, there's definitely going to be a way. And I think that, regardless of what, it's pretty obvious you're going to be successful, whatever you put your mind to, right? Because it's one of those things where, if plan A isn't working, we're going to find a plan B. And that's an entrepreneurship thing, right? I mean, everything's not going to work out in our favor all the time. And you have to find plan C through G, H,
Z.
All the way down the line, because sometimes you have to go down that road to figure out what's going to work best. So, so you have a relatively, I shouldn't say short career. I mean, I just feel like we've been doing this for 2008, 2009. You started 2012 and picked up on it just like that. That's pretty awesome, because again, it takes a while to develop those skills.
Not too many people are natural at CrossFit,
right?
So and one thing I definitely noticed first time I remember seeing you work out, I think it was the first year you went to regionals, they're like, oh, that girl's from Northern Kentucky or whatever. I was like, oh, that's cool. And it's that engine, and that's one of the things where I see people, coming here, and it's just that intangibles, right? Where, whether it's like a quarterback in the pocket and they can just feel the presence, it's something you can't really teach. So I feel that was what I was blown away by whenever I was watching you. I was like, man, she just doesn't stop. And you know, when we just had a little competition here, and the people that won, they were from actually Dayton, and that's
Hopefully
obviously
they're not listening as I trash them.
yeah.
I loved Kettering.
Yeah.
FYI.
Go Flyers.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, that was, you know, it was clear, you know, no matter what the test, and that's the cool thing about CrossFit, like the fittest should rise to the top. And when I saw them, even in the first workout, I was like, these guys are going to win because they were just relentless with their movements, and they moved well and so on and so forth. But anyway, don't know how we got there, but just complimenting you on being a ferocious kind of athlete. And I know that's tough, and I commend you for, you know, one of the things that I wanted to jump in earlier on, just, you know, you can only have so many passions, you know, so if you're passionate about your business right now and all in on your business, like we said, other things kind of suffer, but it's so hard, like you said, to be passionate about two things at once. And then having that reframed perspective from an injury or something like that. I had a similar thing happen to me in high school football. I broke my wrist, you know, game 7 out of 10 in the season, and I had to be on the sidelines the rest of the season, and it was terrible. I mean, it was like I didn't even want to go to practice and watch because it was just I can't do anything. And
I tried that. I would always leave crying.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like, I can't come.
And even it got to the point where the coach had to have a conversation with me and just like, you know, hey, look, you're still a leader on this team, and we still need you around. And I needed him to tell me that because I felt disconnected, you know, and it was hard because it was like, man, I should be out there. I should be the one, you know, doing this, that, or the other thing. And for me at the time, I mean, I was 16 or whatever at the time. And again, we weren't going to state. You know, I feel like Uncle Rico right now.
Yeah.
Put me in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
We'd have won state. But in essence, you know, basketball season was next, and guess what? It got me. It was my right hand. I'm a right hand at everything. All of a sudden, I'm in the gym dribbling with my left hand. I'm figuring out things, you know, that maybe are a deficiency. I'm trying to make those strengths, and I think that's what you're doing. You know, you're not stopping. You're not just like, oh, woe is me. This is, you know, you're relentless, and
Right.
that's what's ultimately why you're such a winner. So
There's like a little screw loose in my brain, I think.
you got to be a little bit, you know.
Yeah, you got to have a little bit.
Yeah.
For entrepreneurship and
I
CrossFit.
do. My husband always says, so when something gets hard, he gives up. By no means. He's great at everything that he puts his mind to, but he doesn't like going to that like pain cave and staying there.
Yeah, me either.
I love it.
There's something about
You and
those
Jared
people.
are a little-
There's something about
love
being
it.
able to turn your brain off and
Yes.
letting the darkness seep in.
I
and
love
you
it.
just get tunnel vision.
You feel so accomplished.
Yeah.
You're like, I am so much stronger than my body is. And
Yeah.
I love that feeling. And I think that's why I've been successful in CrossFit, because when it hurts, I want to stop. And sometimes I stop and get water or whatever. But like, I am not going to quit.
There's this has come up. This is maybe a phenomenon, whatever you want to call it. Really just from talking to people on this podcast. But what do you think? Because this is something that I noticed within just my training and applying it to everyday life, but is really just the ability to solve problems better. Kind of like what you talked about, where you're like, there are a lot of times in your life where whatever it is that may be going on in your life, you may want to stop, but there's something that allows you to go on. And I think a lot of it has to do with what happens down there on the floor. And I don't know why. I think it's just because you realize that, you know, you're not going to die. You know, you'll pass out before you die.
You'll be
but-
fine.
Yeah. So like, I don't know if you've noticed that with yourself, like when something else arises, like, I know I can get through this because of something I did in the gym. Like, it sounds really silly to
No, it
equate those
doesn't.
two things, but until you really experience it, you don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know?
So I remember when I first started, like, yes, I had a great engine, but I never lifted a weight in my life before. I never really did gymnastics. I was a competitive cheerleader, so I was always like flexible and I could do backflips and stuff like that, but I didn't know what a pull-up was or a muscle up. And I remember like working on things and thinking, I'm never going to get a pull-up. And then I'd get a pull-up, and then I'd get 10, and then I'd get whatever. And then the next thing, be like, you know, I'm not sure I can do this. And so as I started to like progress more and more, it doesn't have to be advanced, but say you want to lift 100 pounds and you get to 100 pounds, you're like, wow, I'm pretty, not awesome, but like I'm gaining confidence in my abilities. And so I know like anything that I decide to do, I can do it. Whether it be CrossFit or in my business, like opening a business is scary as crap, honestly. But
Yes.
you know, I had little voices in my head saying like, well, what if you fail? And it's like, well, who freaking cares if you fail? What if you don't try? And
Yes.
so that's been,
the worst thing you're gonna have to do is go get a job.
I agree.
You know.
And I worry about what people think about you, but like, I really don't care, you know?
That's powerful in so many ways. And I think one of the things that CrossFit does, and we've talked about this before, is it's just that like self-awareness, right? And how you can transition that over to your business. So like you said, you're like, I got to do the marketing, I got to do the sales, I got to do the court, and so on and so forth. And if you feel like you're lacking in one area, like CrossFit, right? It's gymnastics, it's conditioning, it's strength, it's all these other things. And like whenever I started, my glaring weakness was flexibility. So it was like, man, dude, you're pretty strong, but like you got to start working on some mobility. And sometimes in the business, I think you look at that crossover too, or just in life. Like, hey man, you're really strong spiritually, but like do you have emotions? You know, or like you gotta kind of like bring these things out of you. So it's that, you know, self-awareness is just so important. And I think CrossFit's definitely that we specialize in not specializing. So it's gonna shine a light into some areas, and then, you know, ultimately through those kind of deficiencies, if you can make them stronger, just like in life, I feel like, you know, and again, there's something to be said about working your strengths and hiring out your weaknesses and so on and so forth. But at the same time, like if you can just, you know, if you're bad at conversational skills or whatever it is, if you can work on those and get those better, ultimately your business is going to thrive too.
I agree. So I always say, work on your weaknesses and make your strengths stronger. So I don't think you should neglect your weaknesses by any means, because that's like saying in the gym, so I'm really strong, so I could just lift all the time. I'd be an amazing lifter, but if I can't do a muscle up, or if I can't row 500 meters or whatever, then that's going to lag. And yeah, like in the scoring system, in some competitions, you are benefited for getting a first place and a last place, but I don't want to do that. You know, I want to get maybe a 15th place and a first place. So working on my weaknesses as well as working on my strengths in business and in CrossFit is huge for me.
Speaking to you're talking about working on your weaknesses again. That Chasing Excellence book, that Ben Bergeron book, when you know talk about Matt Frazier, and he's like, he did something no one else wanted to do, and went to a high school track coach and got beat by 9th graders for the whole summer, and then came out and whooped everybody in that sprint.
Right.
You know, it just, you know, you have to be self-aware to realize what you are lacking, whether it's professionally, emotionally, or physically. You know, and that's huge. Do you have any in the kind of CrossFit world? Do you have any kind of people that are at the top of your list? Anybody you look up to?
You know,
you don't have to. That's fine.
Yeah, like I
look up to Mark. He's physically taller than me.
Yeah, he has to.
Yeah.
So, this is going to sound bad, but I respect all CrossFitters at a high level. That is so much like grit and sacrifice. But for me, I look up to the people the most that have something outside of CrossFit. So whether it be like a full-time job or their moms or whatever, because so not everybody can. So I could quit my job tomorrow. I'm still not going to win the CrossFit Games. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of work.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I can relate more to someone who has other things going on and they're still a total badass. So that's who I would say like I look up to most. I can't think of any names. I know Valerie Robrol. I can't even say her name, but I know she's a teacher and a mom and like makes it to the games every year. And I feel like she doesn't get enough recognition for that. Yeah. That is like really badass. And I don't think people understand that.
Yeah.
She's a beast.
Again, when you
I can't say her name either.
When you're watching just about any high level sport, and everything looks so graceful and eloquent and easy, you don't realize the work that goes in. The work that goes in to perform a muscle up correctly, even just to work on a hollow and arch and make it graceful, is unreal. And you know, when it looks so effortless, people would just they almost discount it. Yeah. Right. And when you start discounting the amount of time, sweat, and energy that goes into it, I agree. It's unreal what actually is put in to get to that
and
level.
That's again a strong correlation to make between business too. You know, it's all these little habits and disciplines, as simple as it might sound, just like consistently going to bed at the same time and getting up and eating your food and you know, timing everything out and prepping. If you're just running your business and you're training by the seat of your pants, you know, it's like, well, what am I going to do today? Well, I don't know. I haven't thought of it yet. So so it's just there's so much crossover for me, and that's why, again, my CrossFit journey has not been always just like strict CrossFit. I'm just all in on CrossFit every single day, but there's always elements of CrossFit in my training personally, and because that's I believe well-roundedness is essential to life, not just training, but.
I agree. Well, speaking of like routine, I've had a hard time like figuring out what works for me, because when you do own your business, you do have a little flexibility, except when I have like appointments I have to be at. So I've tried like getting up early and working all day and going to the gym at night. And I have found, number one, I'm really tired and I'm kind of like peopled out. So I may not be the most cheerful, the most open person that I normally am. And then number three, like sometimes I just don't show up. And so for me, like lately, I've been waking up really early, like at 5, and I like to, I have a little routine. Like I like to eat breakfast and I like to do a little Bible study just to kind of get my day right. And then I've been going to the gym like before work, and I shower there, and I hate showering at the gym. I wish I could shower at home and like chill, but I've realized I can't have both. I can't have like a relaxing morning and get all the things done that I need. So just like trying to find that time, and then like scheduling routines for work. So I like try to block out time for office time, because if not, like people will eat my time, or like whatever it may be may eat your time, and you're like, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock and I've done nothing. So I think setting those like routines and like saying no when something doesn't fit within it is really, really important. Whether it be in the gym, if it's your hour to train, like say no to happy hours and say no to things. And it's hard because you want to have fun and do everything, but you have to think about what your priorities are. And if it's something that doesn't fit within your priorities, unless you have free time, by all means do whatever you want. But if it's something that doesn't fit within your priorities, it's something that you have to check off that list.
Yeah, that's so big, because there's so many people that everybody wants to say they want to work hard, but when it actually comes down to waking up at 5 a.m., I suck at waking up early.
I don't like it.
It
takes a while, right? Was it 30 days for a habit?
Yeah, it's 2190 or something like that. I heard. Like
I used to stress about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, if I don't wake up,
Yeah, it's very tough, but again, it's literally just that stop it video. Stop it, like or the opposite. Do it. Just do it. Just actually get up and do whatever you say you're going to do, and actually make it happen. Because, again, you can be the biggest talker, say you're going to do all this stuff, but unless you actually do it, you're only, again, hurting yourself. That's an old adage, but it rings true every single time.
That's a huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Saying something, people that are, and this has nothing to do with CrossFit, but people that are like all talk and promise all these things and don't show up when they're supposed to and don't whatever. As a business owner, you can't do that. When I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm always that place, or I'll just say no. But backing up.
I had a realization the other day, from every job I've ever had, working at filling balloons at Party City to being a field manager at a baseball field, anything you've ever written out, it's like, we need, self-starters and self-motivated people, and you're like, I'm self-motivated. And I don't think until ownership came, where it was like, oh, you actually have to be self-motivated.
People count on you.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, and I want to talk a little bit more about kind of your motivations behind your everyday life.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back. And we're back. We're here, Everyday Athlete Podcast with Melissa Doss. We kind of finished, we're talking about your pet peeves, but we could probably go back to that. But
I have several of them.
One big thing I want to know is, and I'm sure Mark wants to know, is talked about a little bit about the motivations in the sport. What about outside of the sport of CrossFit? Professional motivators, and anybody that you kind of see that's kind of your guiding light?
Yeah, I have a lot of mentors actually in my profession, and I think that is critical if you want to succeed. I think people that don't reach out and ask for help are frankly stupid, because mentors or people in your profession that have been in there for a long time, they love helping people, and I'm sure there's some that don't, but the people that I've reached out to, they have been like thrilled to answer my questions and to help me and just to like boost my confidence and help with my business and just help with anything. So, like naming names like nobody would know, but other attorneys in my profession, specifically females, which I think is really cool, because you always hear that like females don't necessarily support other females. And I have found that to be very false.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Which is very cool.
That's good. Because we literally just had breakfast with one of our mentors today. I'm still dragging from that breakfast.
Was it at 8 a.m.?
There's a lot of potatoes in there.
Oh, because it was early.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and again, you have people who want to help because they've made those mistakes, and they're like, if I can steer you in the different direction for one of those, then we've done our job. And that's kind of what we do with, down here on the floor, where it's like, I've been doing this long enough that I've made enough mistakes where it's like, hey, I can take 3 months off of your pain and agony of trying to learn this if you just listen.
I agree.
And I guess that's kind of the frustrating part too, because for whatever reason, you have a lot of people where it's like you already know everything. It's not necessarily true.
So
Unfortunately,
if you're a know-it-all, I would definitely say you're not going to survive long.
In whatever you do, I think.
Whatever you do.
You got to be coachable.
Whatever you got to be coachable, and not only in the gym but outside of the gym. And it's the people who are willing to adjust and are willing to learn and soak it in and let others help them out that I think are the people who succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. You've trained just about I don't know how many. I would say you've switched gyms, but you basically you seek out people who are better than you, right? And I think that's a reason why you're better than a lot of people, right? Was that a conscious decision?
So it depends. So when I first started at a gym, I was at CrossFit NKY. They're a great gym. I was there for I think like a year and a half, and I just wanted a little something more. And so I joined CrossFit the Tracks, and I love the Tracks. I think they have great coaching. And then CrossFit Conjugate reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested on their team. So I trained there for a while, and I got to work with Lauren Shane Sweat. I got to meet like Louis Simmons. So that was cool, like in the powerlifting world. And I learned a lot from those people. And then like I've been to CrossFit Maximus, and they have great coaches, and I like all the competitions that I get to do, I travel all over the world and like get to meet like really cool coaches, and I try to soak it all in. And sometimes it's hard when there's like a lot of different information coming at you, and so I will generally take like what works for me and apply it. And if not, like everyone has a different way of teaching things,
right? So
you can't listen to everything, but I know the way you teach something may not work for me, but maybe the way Mark teaches it works for me, or like some sort of cue. So I listen to what everyone tells me and try to coach me on, and then I like apply it to myself. So it's been a really cool experience. I kind of feel like I'm a gym hopper.
But that's not
I'm a soaker inner.
That's not a bad thing though, because again, it really comes down to we are very community based. We have an amazing community, but if you feel like you can learn from somewhere else, it's not like we have. That's one of our big qualms, I think, just with CrossFit. Is everyone plays their cards close to their vest, like they have the secret to everything. It's like, I'll tell you everything we do. I want to take in as much information as possible.
I agree.
And then there's the whole thing of you actually have to go out and do it.
Yeah.
And that's the execution side of things. And like you said, you can draw up the best program in the world, but if you don't do it, you can have the worst program in the world. If you're doing it, it's going to be more effective.
That's been hard for me, like being on teams. That has been hard, like sticking to one program. I followed an outside program for a while with Power and Grace. It was awesome, but I was also
Spencer
Arnold.
Spencer's
great.
Awesome.
Spencer and Joe, they were wonderful. But I was trying to follow that, and then I was also trying to do stuff for the Tracks, just so I could do stuff with the community, because it's not really fun by yourself.
Well, was Power and Grace weightlifting or CrossFit or both?
It was both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah, because I personally follow a weightlifting program, and then I will do our programming, and it is tough because you have to balance out. Well, I can't do that workout today because I have heavy squats, or vice versa.
Right.
And it becomes a double-edged sword sometimes. But you are absolutely right. Like it's all right. Go do double grace by yourself.
Sucks.
Yeah, no thank you.
Yeah.
Like, and there's something to be said about the people who can do that.
I've done it for years, but I'm at that point now. I'm like, I just kind of want to be with other people.
Have some fun.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
It can't be. It becomes monotonous, probably even at a high level of programming, and you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'd rather have someone next to me. It's their first day of CrossFit, but they're like moving.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's way better than being on your own.
That's our community class, our Saturday classes. Hey, find a partner.
Yeah.
And it's like, who needs a partner?
I
And
love
then-
partner
then
workouts.
Then they roll their eyes when they're with me. Like I don't want to use my partner.
No one ever wants me either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're
I'm
a
fun.
nice.
I promise I'm fun.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
I'm not going to hurt you.
I always say, you know, Jared's a nice guy, but his fitness is a jerk because it's just relentless. And
Yeah.
it's like, dude, just slow down, man.
We should be partners then.
All right. Yeah, we'll do that one day. We'll have my gimp ankle and your gimp ankle.
Yeah?
Or my gimp leg. This one's shorter than the other one.
Oh, so your hips probably hurt.
But it's like this.
Yeah.
But that's to go back to, you know, just the ability to take a step back and enjoy yourself, almost to the point of those first couple years when you're getting into it. And how,
Obsessed.
because, but I mean, again, there's only so many movements you can do. They throw in, you know, the odd object every now and then, and you can get a handle on it. But once you become very proficient at the muscle up or the pistols, or, you know, that's why I've fallen in love with the sport of weightlifting, is because, you know, my training age for weightlifting is only 3 years. My training age for CrossFit is like 9. So it's still very new, and I'm still perfecting, you know, what I can do there.
3 years.
For
short.
weightlift,
Really?
to really focus in on it, yeah, it's only been about 3 years. So yeah, that's what I mean. So it's still very new, and that's where that kind of excitement comes from. But then you still get to go back and do some fun things. We did, I think we talked about it before in the podcast, the double up rope climb, where you came down, had to touch your butt on the ground in an L position and climb back up.
Fun.
I sucked terribly to that, and I was super excited to do it because I was no good. It was something new to learn. So
That's the thing about CrossFit too. I feel like I had someone the other day ask me like, well, this is probably easy for you. And I'm like, it's really not. Like when you get a rope climb and you're great at rope climbs, you think you're just going to do them all the time. And then they throw in a legless and you're like, wow, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Then you get really good at legless and then you have to do L-sit
Yeah.
or you know, can't jump or whatever.
right, or they cut the rope off 10 feet up.
It's
and you have to
awful.
jump.
Yeah, so I feel like no matter how efficient or proficient you get in a movement, there's always more to learn at any level, which is also why I love CrossFit, I think.
One of the questions that always comes up with our fundamentals people are like, when does this get easier?
Never.
Well, it doesn't. You just get better at
You
it.
just get better. You get better
Things
and you
go
get stronger
faster.
and everything. Right. It
Things go
feels
faster.
easier, but hey, like AMRAPs, I hate AMRAPs because the fitter you are, the more freaking work you have to do.
Yeah.
I always hate those.
Cindy and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it very tough.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to be next on you for the list then? So you said you had this plan, and you know now you're working on the business. Where do you think you're going to be within the next year or two? Now that you have some time to kind of take everything in and starting to build a business more.
Yeah, it's a tough question.
You don't have to have a plan.
Oh no, it's okay. So I have
She's
things
type
that I
A.
want
Yeah.
to do. I have things that I want to do. So, like I mentioned, my husband and I, we would love to have a baby in the next couple years. I would also love to still compete. I don't know what level, but I would love to be on a team again. I don't know if I want to be on a team that makes it to the games, and it's not because I don't want to go to the games, but I don't want to have to drive an hour or whatnot each way. I just don't have time to do it. Now, if there was a team like in the region that was good enough to make it to the games, by all means, I would consider it. But I would love to be on, a team at the tracks if there's one, and make it to regionals and just have fun. You never know what's going to happen, but
Sure.
knowing that we probably wouldn't make it to the games, I would still have a blast. Or even if I don't do that, compete at local competitions with friends. I really don't want to do individual, but like partner and team stuff. And
Yeah, partner stuff is just fun.
So fun.
You can pace things more. It's enjoyable. The pressure is not 100% on you.
I actually work harder.
Yeah,
I really do.
it really comes down. I think the science behind it is just your work to rest ratio. You know,
I agree.
everybody, if you've got 30 seconds of rest, you can go faster for the 30 seconds you're working.
Yeah.
You know,
So I definitely like have plans for my family and plans to compete again. I want my ankle to get healthy, and I want to come back strong and not rush it, so I don't cause like permanent damage. And I want to continue to grow my business. My ultimate dream job is to be a mediator. So I want to take steps to do that. I have to go back to school actually for that. So, I mean, it's just like a semester or whatever, like at night or whatever. So I'd love to start that in the next couple years and continue my business, but add that in. So I have big things that I want to work on,
Yeah.
and then also try to like chill a little bit more. I know everything I said is totally opposite of that, but I'm really trying to be more in the moment and more present, especially when I'm at home or when I'm with my friends. Just trying to like be where I am, if that makes sense. So those are goals.
That's huge.
That's
I think that should be a goal for everybody, to
I
just
agree.
be present and in the moment, especially with everyone on their phone and so on and so forth. This, and again, it's somewhat necessary. You got to be connected to, if you're a business professional, or if you need to get back to people in a timely fashion, for sure. But that's one of the things I'm trying to work in, for me personally, is just be present in the moment and not like feel bad about taking a day off here
It's
and there,
hard, yeah.
and doing things of that nature, because what I've found out is when you actually fully can disconnect, you reconnect so much stronger. So whether it's like with the training, I'm sure like your first day back at training, whenever you can go full bore, and if you've done it already, but I'm sure you're going to be like, let's do this and just get after it. And I feel like whenever I got married recently and we went on vacation, it was really the first one I've done in 4 years, and I feel like an idiot now saying that out loud, because of just how much I got from just taking a week off and just sitting on a beach. And whenever I got back, I'm like, wow, I am ready to work.
And too, what the conference we were all just at, it's like no one ever is on their deathbed going, I wish I would have worked more.
Yeah, exactly.
No. And people have always told me, and this is harsh to say, but even as a business owner, and when you're the only person people can contact, like, you're not that important. Like me, I'm not that important that I have to be by my phone or my computer all the
Right.
time. If someone leaves me a voicemail, I know emergencies come up, but if someone leaves me a voicemail or texts me or whatever, like, it can wait till tomorrow. Me responding immediately is not that important to someone, and I'm trying to learn that. And it's hard to like cut it off and say, at this time I'm going to turn my phone off because I need to be present, because if I work all night long, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and it's just like a continuous cycle.
Yeah.
So it's a huge goal.
You have to set boundaries, right?
Yes.
For your clients.
It's hard.
And,
So you have you're in the public eye quite a bit, I would say. I mean, at least social media wise, right? How does that affect, especially for females, right? You almost are put in a role model situation. Like, does that affect your decision making, or is it just something that comes naturally? Like, you've always been like, you see what I'm kind of saying here? Is that something that came naturally to you, or is it just something you had to work on, where like, I have to make a conscious decision to do this or not do that?
Yeah, both. Luckily, like, most of my decisions along my life have been pretty straight and narrow, but being in the spotlight, I feel a lot of pressure, not bad pressure, but a lot of pressure to be a good role model for like young girls or anybody really. But I really try to watch what I say, and just in my everyday life and on social media, because I could act like I'm an angel on social media and walk around saying cuss words to everybody, and people talk, and I don't want to be that person. So I really try to be the same person all the time. Sure. And I try to watch what I say, and I try to not do certain things. And of course, no matter what your intentions are, people will always take things as, I've had people say when I post like a selfie or a picture of me in a sports bra that I'm just like trying to get attention. Right. And then other people say you're so inspirational, and other people are like,
yeah, you can't control.
You can't control it. No. And so early on, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want these people to think I'm an attention seeker if I do this. And now I'm like, you know what? Like, it's the way I am. That's not my intention. My intention is to show people what I'm doing and to show people that you can do certain things. And yes, if I'm a role model, that's great. But me pretending to be something that I'm not is not the kind of role model I want to be anyway.
Right.
But it does, I am very conscious to not, like post pictures of me. I don't get drunk anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very conscious of what I do, not just for people on social media, but for people in everyday life, because I definitely think people are always watching regardless of who you are. And I've had so many people that know me from other people, and it's how I've gotten clients from a business. So I think people are always watching, and I try not to do things or say things that my mom wouldn't approve of.
Yeah. And I think that that's going to bleed over into you. It's clearly, I've known you long enough that that's just who you are.
Yeah.
I definitely would agree with you. You are the same person you say you are.
Try to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So going back to again, maybe that role model status, but like, what would you say to someone who's just starting out, who's pretty apprehensive just about CrossFit? Because again, it's still, unfortunately, we fight the stigma of like, of CrossFit daily.
You're going to get bulky.
Yeah. I touched the weight.
I have worked so hard to get big muscles.
Thank you. Yeah.
And the minute I stopped working out, they.
Yeah.
I actually get a lot of questions about this. I get people in public and they say like, well, I can never do that. You have to be good to start CrossFit, or you have to be whatever. I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You see the people at the CrossFit Games, and yes, they're all beautiful and fit and whatever, but that is not what the average CrossFitter is, or what they look like, or what their goals are. Like most people's goals are to feel great and look great and chase after their kids and be able to hike and do all these things. So I always, when people say like, I'm not fit enough to start CrossFit, I'm like, you need to change your perspective. You know, you really need to come in the gym and take a couple classes, because you don't want to base it off of one. But so that's something that I say, like, number one, not all CrossFitters look like me. Which, yes, to some people, my body inspires them, but other people, it's probably really disheartening. And people have told me that before, not in a mean way, but just like, you know, I don't want to come in the gym if everybody's as fit as like you guys,
Right.
which makes me sad, but it's just how some people are. I get it. And then I've had other people who start and they're like, hey, when can I get a muscle up? I want to go to the CrossFit Games. I want to do this. And I'm like, you have no idea how much work it takes.
Yeah, it's almost a backhanded compliment, because you know
It's definitely backhanded compliment.
because you understand what they're saying, but
Yes.
again, you're like, they're sliding.
Yeah.
They're sliding that work that has to be
Yeah.
put in to get there.
I'm like, hey, listen, yes, things I've picked up more easily than other people, but it took me almost a whole year to get a freaking double under.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
things don't happen overnight, and they didn't for me.
Right.
It's that constant showing up every day and putting in the work that I have to tell people, and that's hard sometimes, but I hear all those different things.
Yeah. Small
Why?
habits make big changes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really is a lifestyle change, you know.
Or like eating healthy. They're like, well, I could never have muscles, or I could never look like that. And I'm like, I make decisions every day to eat healthy. And yes, I like eat cheeseburgers and drink beer and all that. But overall, like, I try to do healthy things to benefit my life, because you don't wake up one day super fit, or you don't wake up one day like super overweight. You know what I'm saying? It's like the small things that add up, and
Yep.
it's a good thing and a bad thing.
The
Right.
difference, that 1% difference over a long amount of time. I know you have to go. We always like to end our conversation with just a pretty broad question. It's pretty awesome to see what everyone's answer is. So what is your definition of fitness?
I don't know. I don't think fitness is associated with being an athlete. I personally think fitness is like being able to enjoy everyday life and be able to enjoy nature, and also like weightlifting and fishing and walking. Just being fit, and the fitness for me just means like staying active in your everyday life. And I hope that everyone finds something that they enjoy in the fitness industry, or multiple things.
Sure.
That's a
Yeah.
hard question.
No,
Ask me a better one.
It is. No, it's great, because again, it really does come down to, you know, doing, the reason we are here is to do other things.
Yes.
Right.
Like
Yes.
we're not doing this so that you can do Karen, you know, in under a certain amount of time.
Please don't make that your goal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know, it's like I get the hiking bug, you know, and it's like, but I get it because I can do it now. You know, like it's all intertwined. You know,
agree.
there is something to the buzzword of functional fitness. You know, so. But anyways, we'll wrap things up there. I know you have to go. Thank you all for listening to Everyday Athlete. Join us next week as we dive deep into the lives of the people who make us great. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.